Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We're going to do the question and answer section now for breathing love into the community. So right now I have Ross Robinson with me and Ramon Brown.
How y'all doing?
Hey, everybody.
I'm going to do a brief introduction real quick, and then we can jump right into it. So Ross is the manager of the training program, implementation, and quality at Holistic Life Foundation. He conducts ongoing staff training, workshops, and evaluates the programming for Holistic Life Foundation. And then Mon Brown is a yoga instructor with Holistic Life Foundation and currently works full-time as a mindful moment program specialist at Robert W. Coleman Elementary School. Anything else you guys like to add to that we're maybe missing?
It's perfect.
Cool.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
I'd like to jump right to you, Mon. So you work at an elementary school. What is that program like? How does that function?
It's actually my elementary school that I graduated from. So
wonderful.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. And it's like the first elementary school where we basically started it at. It's just a wonderful program. The students love it. They try to do things like, little side things to get out of class to come see us because they want to get the practice in. They want to, hang out with us so much. So, it's wonderful. It's helpful to them.
What age kids you working, like first through fifth, or?
So I work first through fifth, juvenile justice system, everywhere, high school, elementary, middle. So
we actually start all the way from like pre-K.
So pre-K is. Yeah.
Is this a lot of kids' first contact with sort of mindfulness, yoga, anything? And like, what is a typical reaction? And then, how long does it take them until they're really there?
It depends on the student. I really can't. I really wouldn't say a time frame of when they click, but they more so they enjoy it, right? And I would say you have some that's like me. When I first started on yoga, I'm like, oh no, that's for women. I'm not doing this. I don't see no benefits from it. But then once I started to do the practice and I started to realize the benefits, I became a scientist. Like, I started studying my body more. I learned how to move forward with it. And the students, they do the same thing. So it's just a little short process. It's not
how long did you, I can claim a similar thing. When I started doing it myself, I was a little skeptical and all that. And it took me probably 3 hours of doing it. And I was like, okay, I get it.
Right.
What about you? Ross and Mom?
Yeah, it took me a little while. Like something that like Ramon was sharing is that we actually started off as the students with this organization, Holistic Life Foundation. So we've been around this for like over 20 years since the organization started. So but I want to say it probably took me like literally months. But the one thing that the founders of this organization did, like they never forced us to do any of these practices. They just like, you know what, you're going to show up, and as long as you're in this safe space, because that was like the main thing, at the beginning, like, you guys aren't, running wild in the neighborhood, like you in the safe space, and it's just kind of like feeding off that energy. And they always modeled. It wasn't like, when you go to a yoga studio and that yoga teacher's just talking to you, walking around the room, like they were on the yoga mats and just like, what, like, hey, if you want to just sit on your yoga mat and watch us, as long as you respecting the space, that's cool. So it kind of gave us that space, and just being in that calm space of, even if you ain't buying, you're not busting a downward dog in front of your homeboys, but you sharing that space. I feel like you are participating because like you were observing, and and then eventually you like, everybody else looking like they having fun, like I want to join in. So
you see that a lot. You see that sort of like dip their toes in, it's like real skeptical, and then you come back 2 weeks later and
I'd say it's I think since yoga is more mainstream now, and like you see like LeBron James, Stephen Curry, you got like these athletes, and you see it on Target commercials, kids usually buy in a little faster. It's still that hesitation, but back in me and Ramon's day, like this is like in the inner city of Baltimore, there was no yoga on commercials. We didn't know what that was. I know like when they first introduced it, I thought they were talking about yogurt. I was just like, they're like, we're going some yogurt. And I'm like yogurt, and they like, no, yoga. Like we doing yoga. And we all looking like, what is yoga? So just didn't hear it. That's something we didn't see.
Yeah, I just from my son's in preschool and they're starting doing it, introducing it with him. And that's why I was asking, how long does it usually take? Because he's not there yet. He's still watching, like, so.
I think me and Ramon both can agree that kids usually probably like for the first 2 minutes, they jump in with us now.
Yeah, I guess it's just like an energy thing, like, and the way you come off to the person, because I knew me personally, right? When I was growing up, it was Wild Wild West. All right, it was terrible. I'm in the gang before I even got out of middle school, so it's crazy stuff going on, and it was just like a sense of like, and I lost my father at a young age, so I didn't really know him. I didn't get to meet him at all. I met him for probably like 3 months at that, so I didn't really get to know him, and it was like a sense of relief, of understanding, like being more mindful, I would say. So I would come off at the students like I'm more so of a friendly figure versus a person that's like, you need to do this and you need to do that, because I was modeled from my mentors, which is the founders, that you got to start with love, and it'll come out. It's
how old were you when
it's
you
kind of hard to explain.
No, I understand. How old were you when you came to it, Mark?
When
you first came to it, when you first experienced, went to a yoga
class.
class.
when I first felt the benefits.
Yeah.
Or when I first joined the organization.
Yeah, when they introduced it to you.
So they first introduced it to us. It was around 2000 and I would say 2005, 2004, in that time. In that time.
How old were you?
I was. It mattered because listen, my little brother was born in 1999. I'm 6 years older than him, so it had to been in between. I was born in 93, so from 93 to it had to been the early 2000s, so 2001, 2002, and that, early 2000s. So my early elementary school years, right?
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
And like we was running around the neighborhood. Don't judge me, because I was imaging what I seen in my neighborhood. So I'm a pure holistic person now. All right. So we would have dog fights. We would do wild things, jumping on people's cars, throwing rocks at people's cars, just destructive things, like things that was just leading us down the wrong path, And it's like we didn't have no outlets. So when the 18 came back, which is the founders of the organization, they had scooped all of us up and was like, hey, instead of, they seen us one day, and we had my friend had a pit bull, and he would let the pit bull chase us around. I don't really talk too long, but pit bull would chase us around, and Ahmed Ali and them came outside one day, and it was like, hey, instead of y'all putting y'all energy into something negative, how about y'all come with us and we teach y'all something new. We was looking at him like a little weird, but as a child, you tend to gravitate towards something that you think that's good, right? So they ain't promised us nothing. You get what I'm saying? They ain't say, well, y'all gonna do this, we're gonna do this. They just say, hey, instead of y'all putting your energy into this, how about y'all come try something new? You get what I'm saying? And we wanted to experience it, so we did. I would say not even I was a little bit more advanced than anybody in the group, because I took a little more serious earlier. So I would say I reaped the benefits like immediately, in my opinion. Because I was able to release, certain things that I was holding in, and I was able to, see the world for what it is and not what's on my block, if you get what I'm saying.
No, I hear it. I hear 100% what you said. So some of the people that you experience it with, like you said, you met them in the A team, and they told you, do any of the people you were with at that time still practice? Like, is it still the group of people you were introduced with? Is it still in their lives?
Of course, but of course you have some that, I'm gonna say they want to put up a facade. They want to, continue to follow the wrong path. But yes, that 95% of us, yes, we are still our daily practice. We are still mindful. We still helping the community. We everywhere, you know.
And that makes up like a lot of our staff here at Holistic Life Foundation. It's a lot of us that came through the program. So from the early years, we actually do have like a workforce development program where we have like ambassadors from like our high schools that they actually like come on a lunch break and participate, like, and they choose, like nobody forces them to do that.
Yeah.
And you know, they just gravitate because we like big brothers, big sisters, like to them. So, you know, they just want to hang out. So we just give them that positive space and we'll just have conversation. They can come have lunch in the room, but like for like about 15-20 minutes, like each day, Monday through Friday, they get to just do a personal practice with us. So throughout their whole school year, by the time they graduate, because some students might say, hey, I want to go to college. Other ones, they might not have it figured out. So Holistic Life Foundation actually gives that outlet of paying us to do like what we actually love to do, is like having this practice and teaching.
Ross, can you just detail like your journey sort of through like a holistic life, not necessarily the whole foundation, but if that plays in, I mean, certainly talk about it, but I want to just talk about like how you came to it.
Oh yeah, most definitely. So actually, two of the founders are my uncles. So like I was around HLF before like HLF existed. Like tell a little bit about my age. It wasn't even like Google. They were on Ask Jeeves of how to start a nonprofit organization. But like, so like at that time, I was spending a lot of time with particular like Ali, but it was Ali, Ottman, and Andy. They had just graduated from college. So I was happy that my uncles came back to town in Baltimore. They had graduated from College Park. And my mother would send me down there to spend a lot of time with them because I was getting in trouble in school. So it got to a point like I got like expelled from school. They was just like, Ali picked me up and Ottman. They was just like, man, what were you doing? Like, we've been trying to tell you about yoga. Because like I would hear like the yoga and things going on and be like, nah, I would just bust out laughing like I'm not doing it. But like with me staying with them at that time, I was going to the after school program with them, and it was like one day I had this really bad earache. I'm make a long story short. I had all this pain, and then like Ali was like, I bet you try some stupid yoga now. Because I'll always be like, man, I'm not doing no stupid yoga. It would be way more vulgar too. Like I'm not gonna go there, but definitely some colorful language. But I looked at him kind of like in shock, like, man, if you got some yoga that'll work for this earache, like I promise, like I do the yoga. I don't think it's gonna work. So he taught me alternate nostril breathing within probably like about 45 seconds. All this fluid rushed out of my ears. And my first reaction to him was just like, man, what the F did you do to my shirt? Like, cause all this earwax juice, it was nasty. He like, stop. He like, how do you feel? You talking like looking at your shirt and all this, you was in all this pain. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, because a lot of times, like in our communities, like we call what they call like exteroceptive geniuses. Like we focus on everything that's going on around us. But when it comes to being interoceptive, knowing our cues, what our triggers are, what makes us upset, it's like non-existent. You know, that's like a whole neuroscience lesson, but they teach you to they taught us to go inward. So a lot of times it would take stories like that or things like that and sit like when I realized that, I'm like, did I go in and do all the yoga when I was going to the after school programs and with them? No, but I found like meditation resonated with me. And sometimes a lot of our students do that. Like they'll be like, you know what, I won't do this, but I like the meditation part, or I like the breathing part. And we promote that. We would be like, hey, you know what? We're going to give you as many tools as you can put into your toolbox, because every tool don't like that. You don't always use a hammer. You don't always use a screwdriver, but you never know when you're going to need that tool. So that's just something they promoted with us too. And eventually when that tool came, it was the right day to use that tool. It worked for me, and I've just been rolling with them ever since.
Yeah, that sounds like a great light bulb moment. Just like everything clicked right there. I want to ask you something like a little more practical question about the program. It's like, how do you get into schools? Like, what is the process? I mean, you don't have to get in boring detail about it, but like, how do you get into new schools? How do you present it to schools? Do they come to you? What does it look like when it first starts?
It's a little bit of both. So like we do outreach, but a lot of times, honestly, like when they first started off, they like the Ali, Ottman, and Andy, the founders, were doing this for free. They worked the first 7 years. Like, the organization.
Can
Oh,
I
go
explain
ahead.
that? All
Go
right.
ahead.
So when they first started off, right, it was so weird, right? Because remember I told you they grabbed all of us in the neighborhood and brought all of us together. We'll literally pack it and Toyota. It's so hilarious. His Toyota Corolla, 19. It was like a old Toyota Corolla. We would lay on top of each other, like at 12 deep inside of this car, driving to the YMCA just to get our daily practice in. And we would go, on the weekends, every weekend, we would go to what you call it, a buffet, all you can eat buffet, So it wasn't also just on, the yoga. It's a family, It's more so of understanding what somebody been through and knowing how to deal with them and knowing how to teach them, tools to help them cope with it. So that when they first started off, we was just packed up. They had it was no funding. It was all out of their pocket, and it was all out of their love. I get so excited talking about it, and it's just
No,
it
I
made me
can tell.
happy.
That sounds like absolute dedication and love. Like that's why it works. I feel.
Yes, that's
real.
exactly why it works.
Yeah.
And one thing I would say is I wouldn't be here today, and that's my personal testimony. I wouldn't be here today, right, and sitting in front of you or talking to you if I wouldn't have ever started the practice or ever met the 18. I'll probably be in all reality. I'll probably be somewhere and sitting in jail cell or deceased like my father. So I want to shout my team out. I thank them so much for the tools.
I love that honesty. I love that honesty. I'm sure everybody watching this too.
But yeah, just to elaborate on that, like now I say like a lot of people reach out to us. They had like it was like had an article in the Washington Post, and then it was a little short video that went viral. It probably has like over like 30 million views. I don't know where it was at. It was crazy. And it just talked about like our alternative to it, like an in-school suspension room out of Robert W. Coleman. And they did away with suspending students and sending them back out to the community, what they're probably where the initial trauma coming from. I mean, it was trauma in the school because everybody like associated with each other. So even the students that might have the hard-working parents, like they still going to school with the students that the parents might be absent in the household. So like you had to even adjust in that setting. So they did away with that, and we started a room where students could come 15 to 20 minutes, whether they could be referred by the teachers or the principal, sit down. We would give them like, sometimes it would be like some water, some tea. We serve as that big brother, big sister, like listen to what's going on. And then like show and model a practice that they could help self-regulate, that hopefully they wouldn't have to come to the room. That room was available to them, but hopefully you wouldn't have to keep going. Because I mean, eventually we want you to be able to self-regulate and know that you have these tools. And it's like, we're not the one holding the power over you. Like you hold power over yourself. Like we just modeling and showing you the tools. But like when you go home, like we're not able to go home with you. Like when you go back into your community, but like this practice, like we like to say, like your breath is always with you, no matter as long as you living. Like that's the first thing you do when you come into this world. It's the last thing you do when you leave the world. You have that breath, and as long as you have that breath, you could tap in no matter what's going on. You're not always able to pick up your iPhone, get on Instagram, pop your headphones in, even sitting in the classroom, play Fortnite, go play outside with your friends. But as long as you breathing, you can tap into that breath, unless you a zombie. I found it's like zombies too, but like hopefully nobody's like Walking Dead or anything. But like as long as you breathing and you living, you got that breath, and you could tap into just doing that check-in and using it.
When was that program first? So when they did away with detention, when was that?
That was like
2014. Yep, 2014.
And that was like a real major like flashpoint for the program. You think like
that was the I mean, to be honest with you, even before that,
because it started more like an after school program, and then they came in with it. It became like a full day, like because they our after school program is that what they started with, what Ramon went through. Like I would join in the after school program, but that Mindful Moments helped us to get into daytime
Well, that's sort of
programming.
when the district gave you like validation. Is that like sort of like when they sort of like really integrated into the actual school program and not having it just be after school? Is that? Yeah.
Yep. So Holistic Life Foundation, we were in like our two pilot schools would be Robert W. Coleman, and then it was which is an elementary school, and then Patterson High School, which is like the most diverse school in Baltimore City. Like
it's like a most diverse school. You know, Digital Hub. Where I graduated from.
You all know you might want to check the stats. I don't know, but see,
I'm just,
but in that area near Patterson, like you have people that's traveled from like the Middle East, Ethiopia, Eritrea. It's like an area called like Highland Town. Greeks. It's like you can find like all different type of food, but that could cause like a lot of problems. Like when you come, like, when you have all those people mixed up in the school as well. So the Mindful Moments definitely helped out a lot.
How many schools are you in today?
We are in about consistently right now.
Baltimore City.
It kind of like fluctuates, but we service like over 13,000 students in Baltimore City each week.
Yeah, amazing.
Because like our different programs look differently, but
and you serve as like a model program for other cities where they might be trying to implement something similar. Do they like contact you for sort of
so we actually started like a new initiative where we call it like a satellite program, where we sent like the founders of the organization traveled to what is called like Mohawk Reservation. It sits like in upstate New York, but kind of like on Canada. It's like in a little funky spot, but it's on like a Native American reservation. And like we sent our founders go up there, and then we sent 2 senior staff, and we actually train people from the community, because a lot of times, like, you know, we go in, it's like, I think it's kind of like disrespectful, and, you know, our founders think it's crazy. Like, how are you coming in people's community and telling them what their problems are, which a lot of people do, and then they leave that community high and dry. So our thing is to train people from the community and make it more sustainable. So that's just a program we've been modeling, but we also offer different trainings. We do a lot of residencies where we travel nationally. I've actually traveled internationally and led a training and a residency with Syrian refugees in the Middle East, like in the Beeka Valley, South Korea, they've been Germany. So it's not even just nationally, it's like internationally where we do these programs as well. And like Johns Hopkins definitely just give us like some notoriety, because they did like the first randomized study like on urban youth, like how mindfulness affects. So that gives us a little validation.
Is there any data there that you know you could back up?
I'm not sure. I know we have data. I just don't know the data off the top of my head.
Yeah, okay. I mean, if you want to paraphrase it, you could paraphrase it. You don't got to give me like the cold hard stats. Just like sort of what did it show?
Oh, it just definitely showed like students like attendance like levels going up, and
suspensions going down, less problems inside of the classrooms, less problems inside of homes, everything. Anything you think of where trauma is dealt with, it would get relief. So yeah, powerful.
So I want to know so when you implement it in a school, right? What do they generally? Where is there room for cuts, maybe, to make room for this? Like, you know, everyone's like academics. I keep, but like obviously from the data you're telling, and just like watching it, this is very important, and it reinforces all of that stuff. It makes space for the student to be able to perform better there. But where, if they have to make a cold hard cut, like where is this time coming from in a program?
It's coming from Baltimore City. You know, like, to be honest with you, the principal need help themselves. You know, so there's a lot of, you know, negative things that happen to a child at an early age, where the principal, they notice that and they find a way. You know, they really care for their students. You know, they really care for us. You know, so they see it or we'll introduce it to them, and instantly they love it. You know.
Ross,
Then
anything you wanna add?
I like when we go in, because a lot of times teachers would be like, like the pressure from like their district. Like Ramon was saying, like we usually like to have the principal on board, but like even to get the teachers on board, you make it relatable to them. So like we start off and show the practice to them and let them experience it. Because
Yeah.
it's like if you just go in and try to do it, they'll just be like, all right, here comes the little yoga dude. But like if you explain the benefits to the teachers and like why is it important and like really get them experience. I'll be like, what, as teachers, like, hey, like you can't tap into your vices. Like you can't leave the kids alone by themselves in the classroom. Like, so you got to be grounded. And then I'll say for a lot of times, the teachers that'll be like, no, I got to focus on my academics. They're the
They just
same
in their
teachers.
own bubble.
They're the
And then
same teachers that are like, hey, sit down. Hey, stop doing that. Hey, sit down. And I'm like, if you would have just took 5 deep breaths or 10 deep breaths, like set the tone with your class, like the students get redirected and like even use it like checking your energy, because a lot of times teachers we look at them as like robots, like they're not somebody's mother or brother, sister,
Yeah, it's not easy.
father, like they
And they
just
definitely underpaid. So
yeah.
there's
And
a lot of
that
stuff going on.
teacher is like there when you come into the classroom and they're there when you leave. Like you don't really humanize them. So it's just like even teaching like the teachers, like, hey, like show that vulnerability to the students of like, what, hey, I'm a little stressed out. Like, hey, like, can we do this practice together? And we use like a reciprocal teaching model where we teach the students to become teachers. So you'll see them probably by like class number 4, if not class number 1, like they are encouraged and want to lead the practices. And we're sitting back like and letting them lead, because that empowers the students. And a lot of times peers listen to their other peers faster than they might listen to that teacher as well. So
yeah. So when you mentioned earlier, you create like a safe space. One of the first things you do is make sure this is a safe space for people and everyone feels comfortable. Like how do you go about doing that? Like what is, does the actual space you do it in? Does sort of like how you first introduce it, like what are some of the big factors into getting it to be that safe space for students?
yeah.
I
Go ahead.
I would say personally for me, I would say I create that of course I show him, so the room is set up like, we got beautiful tapestry, bean bags, like Ross said, tea, some essential oils, floating through the air, which helps out lavender, stuff like that. Pictures up of inhale, exhale, just certain little things. But I come off personally, and we come off personally as it's like we're not here to get you in trouble, because that's what most people think of, is like, oh, I'm here because I'm in trouble. So we had to stop that and really, fall back on and say, listen, this is not, you are not here to get in trouble. This is an open room. You can talk to me. You get open up to me and let me know everything. And I'm gonna keep that secret. It's just like, how can I explain? It's like this. You got to be more so focused on listening more than you are talking and teaching. Because that's what most
meet them where
students
they're at. Find out where they are and meet them there.
Meet them there and help them out. We'll move forward.
And then just like addressing, like I know when I come in with the students, just addressing like, like setting the tone of like, hey, like what do you think about yoga? And then like, because kids are like trained like to like, even if you say tell the truth and then they tell the truth, then you be like, go sit down, go do this. Like their parents, their teachers, everything. Yeah. So like I'll say like, how do you feel about yoga? And then I might say some things that they feel like, oh my God, like did he say that? Like I'm not cussing or anything, but like just some of the like, what is like yoga, like yoga's for girls or yoga, like and they kind of like start warming up, like and I'll be like, you know what? We don't even have to do yoga today. Let's just talk about like how we feel about yoga. Like who do we identify as like doing yoga? So they start like telling like their beliefs. So a lot of our students would be like, I think of a Caucasian lady that's in yoga pants and like yoga's for rich people and it's not for poor people, or they start telling their truth. So and it's just like, okay, well, hey, I'm here, or hey, like, do you ever look at this like or like look at me like, do I look like your typical
Or
yoga
it's a
teacher?
religious thing or something, you know, like
Yeah,
there's
oh
all
yeah,
these
it's
things.
like
Yeah, you can definitely
debunking
have
like
that.
all that stuff, and
Yeah,
then we always use like scientific benefits and
Yeah.
giving it to them, like, and then we just like give it back to them and like how you feel, like let's do that check-in like after we do it. So just setting the tone like that, because a lot of times like they're laughing and then they think they're going to get in trouble for laughing. I'm like, you know what, everybody busts out laughing, like it's cool. And like they all start laughing, we might be in downward dog, they laughing at me in downward dog. I'm like 215 pounds, like tattoos, and I'm doing downward dog in front of the class. So like they might think that's a little funny. So like I don't get uptight. And we, like Ramon was saying, like we model that energy of not getting upset, where typical like other teachers or just points of authority probably get upset and be like, everybody sit down. Like that's why y'all don't take nothing serious, you know. Nah, we're not here to be punitive.
I got a question, and this isn't my opinion, but I want to play the skeptic for a second. So let's say you send kids to this class, right, and it looks like they're having so much fun and they're supposed to be going there as, you know, replacement for detention. Like, what's to say they're not going to act out to get there on purpose? Like what is, I'm sure that's something that people have brought
Remember
up.
I said it in, my fault, I mean cut you off. Remember I said it in the beginning, but I'm gonna.
So what do you say to the person who says that, like, well, they're just going to act out so they can get in here because, you know, they're having fun here, blah, 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 like all that? What do you say to that skeptic?
We more so focus on I'm also focused on telling them, like, you know, this is a place where, you know, you come when you are in need, right? This is not a playground. This is not a place where you can just relax and kick your feet up and safely get school. You know, I express it to them in that way. Like, this is a place where you come to relieve yourself, or if you want to get something out your chest, you can come in and do it. But we don't keep them in there for too long. If you get what I'm saying. Them type of students, we work with them and, you know, send them back. But they come around.
Regulate.
Yeah, for the purpose of education, we only keep students for 15 to 20 minutes. So, and if and we, like, our instructors are trained to also look at if somebody's coming in at 11:15 a.m. every day, like there's probably a problem. Like there might be somebody picking with the student. It might be they not getting along with the teacher. So it might be it's been students that don't even have lunch, so they get mad and they stealing other people's lunches, like while everybody's in the class. Like it could be so many different reasons. So we as instructors are trained like to even like look at like finding those underlying things. That's part of us having a personal practice and being mindful, so we can point those things. But then also I feel like we not there, like Ramon was saying, like we not they have fun with us, but we are telling them like you gotta learn how to self-regulate. Like we are talking to them, giving them life lessons as well. So a lot of times the teachers come rushing to us. It'd be like the biggest skeptics, but I've had students where I think they have not listened to anything that I've said, and a teacher just run up to me like after a week and just like, oh, you know, like this student, like, and I don't even remember the student's name, and they're like, oh, like this student just listens, and he was about to get into a fight and he just walked away. I'd never seen him do that. And then she points to the student, and I'm thinking in my head, like, and I'm still a human being. Like, I'm like, man, he's ran around my classroom the whole time. I've told him, like, sit down, you know, I'm not going to chase him or, you know, yell at him. I'm going to be like, you know what? Like, I mean, you still got to set the tone and redirect it. But I'm like, I feel like he ain't do no yoga with me. But that shows you, like, he's listening, like he's able to self-regulate. And I think a lot of times, like, that energy just shifts. Like, we even do, like, in a lot of our schools where the whole school shuts down for like 5 to 15 minutes each morning, where we do mindfulness practices over the PA system, and nobody goes to the bathroom. The teachers are not teaching, like everybody just stops. So I think just with the different programs that we have, it just helps set that tone and kind of debunks that, because a lot of teachers do just be like this is going to take away from my class time, but they start to see the benefits.
What I'm hearing is results. They see the results, and then that quiets the skeptic right up. You know, like that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, or they try to use you as an anchor. You know, they use you as an anchor. Like,
but that's okay.
They can't handle the child, so you know, because we all here. You know, like some teachers, they can't handle the child. So
Different tools, different, like you said, different tools. Yeah.
and we make it, and we also make it cool. It's not something that's not normal. We make it a norm for them. So they love it.
We're just about at time, but I'd like to give you both an opportunity sort of to leave us with what you think someone should take away from either the film or the program, or just, a holistic approach to life. And whoever wants to jump in there, please, what it's done for you, and what do you hope that communicates to other people?
I feel it just comes from like a place of love. I think we have like this concept on love, like thinking about Romeo and Juliet or something. Like it has to be that, but there's so many different forms of love. But like just coming from that place and just like even you had to get on YouTube, just by having like that tool in your toolbox where you're not acting out of like aggression, because usually like it's like the law of nature, a positive and a negative has to come out to be a positive, but a negative and a negative force of energy is always going to turn out to be negative. So it's the same thing with us. So always try to be that positive life force coming from a place of love. And that doesn't mean that you have to sit up there and be friendly with the people or being around them. Sometimes loving people from a distance is the best thing we can do. And just loving yourself to, I love myself enough to stay away from that situation. Because a lot of times it's like, if you think about it from basic sports, or like the person that might have shoved them, gave them an elbow, they get away with it. And then the person that goes back and reacts, pushes them back, they get a flag on the play. But it's the same thing with students in the classroom. Somebody balls up a piece of paper, launches it across, hits you up outside the head, you get up, oh, hit me. Then the teacher's like, get out the classroom. And then you even matter. And you probably not even arguing with the person that threw the paper. Now you arguing with the teacher. Oh, you don't understand me. That's why I don't like class anyway. And they really like get out. And the person that started the whole situation is sitting back like, they mad. So it's like that in a lot of areas in life. And it can be it's a lot of chaos. Whether you turn on MSNBC, I don't care if you in the suburbs, if you in the inner city, you constantly see this going on. Like people are reactionary, and I'll let Ramon talk about it. It's like being proactive instead of reactive. Like he always stressing that with the students.
Yeah, and it's like me, right? I go off of like in Ross too. I'm gonna speak for both of us on this. We go off of more so being scientists. All right, so we'll have your personal practice, see your results, see how I can help another person out, right? So when I was in high school, I would teach yoga to the track team every Friday, and it helped our track team out a lot. We went to states, we won regional cities, states. I was like, I still got the Baltimore City record for 1 mile, 2 mile, 4x8, and 400. But it was just like I would do certain things. So before a track meet, I would do breath of fire, right? On a whole bus ride to the meet, I would practice a breath of fire, right? And it helped my lungs expand, and it helped me get all the bad, stuff out of my system or whatever from the day, like drinking soda or stuff like that or whatever. And it just helped me. I seen the benefit of it, so it helped me out, and it helped me go far. So I got letters from the United States Olympic track team, every D1 college you can think of, but it was just more so of me not understanding. I took the offer too late, if you get what I'm saying. So me trying to get back into it, forced me down the lower stage of depression, because I was testing the train from Baltimore City to Prince George Community College, and I'm out there and I'm on the track, and the coach, he boosted me up like, yeah, I'm gonna get you signed by a Nike contract, and the next semester the track program got canceled. So I was pretty depressed about that, but I just went and I meditated on it, and I focused, and I just let it go. I just didn't let it control me, because I could have let it control me and I gave up on everything, just say forget it, but it you guys take the right steps to stay focused, and I just try to be more proactive. That's all it is.
I appreciate that. I want to thank both of you guys for the spirited Q&A we had. I really enjoyed it. I hope you did too. I really enjoyed the movie, and I'm thankful for everything you guys are doing. So keep it up. I want to say bye to everybody else who's been watching all the films. It's the last day, the final film. Anybody who's stuck with us the whole time, I hope you learned a lot and you grew a lot. And the films are going to be available on your TRF accounts from until the 20th. So you can catch up with anything you missed. You can rewatch anything you really liked. And I hope to see you next year. I think next year's film festival. All right, everybody.
Yeah, I want to thank you too, and
Thanks.
I want to thank my Bill Storts. I thank you too. You know, I'm sending that same love and like back to you too. I thank you so much for that. I thank you for having us. You know,
Thank you.
it's y'all show.
Bill's been a mainstay here. He's been one of the people who stuck with us the whole time, and he's been really insightful. So, thank you. All right,
Yeah,
guys.
and there's a lot more information that we can give on like past days and stuff that
In that
ways that we helped us out. Ways that the practice of yoga and mindfulness helped us out.
how
just
can
to help
people follow
people.
what,
Somebody
how can people
going
catch up with you guys?
Say that again.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
How can people catch up with you guys? Like, how can they?
Our website is if you put in HLF Inc., but HLFinc.org will pop up. Well, we have Instagram, social media, just Holistic Life Foundation. You could see videos on YouTube. We definitely, but just Google it. We're like the first thing you do, yoga in schools or HLF will pop up.
I recommend. I've looked at most of you guys' material, and I would really recommend it.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah,
Love
thank
you
you so much.
guys. Peace.
Namaste. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a